Hello crafty friends, in today's video we're going to be creating these super cute index cards. They're actually pretty easy to make, and if you watch till the end of the video I'm going to let you know what I'm going to do with all of them. I think you'd like to stick around for that. So I'm using plain white index cards that I just actually buy at the supermarket. They're blank on the one side and have lines on the other side, which is the side we'd use for journaling. To add color to them, I'm going to be using inks today. You can use the same method with watered down acrylics. I add my ink to an acrylic block. I have the ink, the color that I want to use, only in an ink pad. So I just press the ink pad onto the acrylic block, spray it with water, and then I just smoosh or dab the card over the acrylic block to pick up the color. I love this technique and I use it quite a lot because I love the different patterns that you get and how every card is unique. You can add as many layers of color as you want, or even just one layer. I'm going to add one more layer of color. This is also ink. It's an oxide ink, a slightly lighter tone than the original one I used. And although you can't see it really very well on the video, there is a different tone and it blends in some areas with the original ink I put down and creates beautiful patterns and adds different tones and contrasts in the background area. It's a good idea to dry each layer of color well before you add the next color to avoid getting muddy colors. Now to add the pop of color, I'm just going to be using an acrylic paint. This is a beautiful magenta color and a stencil. I'm then using a makeup sponge or a blending sponge. You can use anything that you have, just to dab the acrylic paint through the stencil. You don't want the paint to be thick. You want it quite thin so it leaves a very soft, misty type of print when you press it through the stencil. This stencil that I'm using is purchased from the Reject shop here in Australia. Remember to only put a little bit of paint on the sponge for each dab so that it doesn't seep through underneath the stencil and cause it to smudge. I'm making the placement of the stencil pattern different on each card so that each one is very unique and very different. If you're not new to my channel, you'll know that I use Gesso a lot, and that'll be the next step with these index cards. I'm just using my finger with a little bit of the gesso and I'm smudging it over certain parts of the card. Not everywhere, just in one or two sections, and I'm making sure that some of the gesso goes over the stencil part so it makes it sort of misty, as if it's blended in a little bit better. It's not so just like standing out on its own. It blends in and makes it more connected and cohesive. I use this blending technique with gesso quite a bit in my art journaling, on my index cards, in the altered playing cards that I do in quite a lot of my work. I just really love the feel and the softness that it brings to the project. And I think it helps bring everything together. I also use a baby wipe to help with the blending. Once the gesso is dry, we're going to add some stamping. I have this script stamp that I also use quite a bit. It's one of my favorites. And I'm just going to stamp randomly on each card with some black ink. I'm going to dry this layer of inking as well, and then we're going to add a little bit of additional white paint just to lighten the whole card. Here I'm using white acrylic paint, and I'm going to water it down, and I'm going to splatter it over the cards, and this will add additional texture, some more interest, and it'll also lighten the card. The more watery your acrylic paint is, the smaller your droplets will be. If you're getting really thick blobs, then it means acrylic paint is still too thick, so add some more water. And also I find if you tap the brush over your hand, instead of just flicking it onto the work surface, you get a finer splatter and it's more evenly distributed. I love finding interesting items or papers to use as the tabs for my index cards. For these ones, I really want to use this torn edge from a spiral book, but the paper I have is just plain white, so I'm going to color it to suit my theme. I'm just adding some ink to the acrylic block and adding some water, and then I'm going to use a paintbrush just to mix it all together to get a browny, rusty kind of color. And then I'm going to add the color to the edge. This is the edge that I'm going to use for the tabs. I'm leaving it quite uneven. I want darker areas and lighter areas. I don't want it all one tone. You could also use a coffee stain for this, but I'm finding the ink is quicker because I really want to finish this project now, and the coffee staining will take a little bit longer as I'll need to go to the kitchen and organize that. So this brown ink will do well for now. Once that is dry, I'm going to tear it to size. I'm just going to make the tab a ruler width, the ruler that I have. So I'm just going to cut a strip, leaving the spiral rough edge as part of the tab. And then I'm just going to cut evenly sort of kind of pieces. I'm just tearing them for the different tabs. You could use a scissors to cut these straight, but I do like my pieces to be a little bit rough and more rustic looking, so I don't always use a scissors. And even now I'm going to add a little bit of this dark red color. I'm also just tearing with a ruler. I don't really measure, I just eyeball it. And to add it as a tab, we'll put one little piece of the brown paper we've colored and some of the red, and then I machine stitch all the way around the card and zigzag on the extra little papers on the top left where the tab is. And then I'm going to do the same for each card. So I've made 6 of these cards, and these will be part of my mini monthly giveaway. I'm going to keep one card for myself for reference, and then the other 5 I'm going to send out as happy mail to you. If you'd like to receive one of these index cards as a happy mail, please just comment below with something like yes please, or me please, or something like that. I'm happy to post anywhere in the world, so it's an international mini giveaway, and I will select randomly 5 comments next week Sunday. I will reply to your comment if you have been selected to let you know that you have won, and to request that you email me with your postal address. Now, notifications don't always work with YouTube, so please do check back next week Sunday to see if you are the lucky winner. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell so that you're notified every time I upload new content. There'll be one of these mini giveaways every month on my channel. I also have some really exciting projects coming up in the month of April. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.